we have a number of questions that focus on the application of these studies for high myopia, so high myopia, Marfan, sticklers. Is it relevant in these cases, or is there really a refractive error range within which this data apply?
Okay, I swayed a few of you. I also want to say that I'm not even really a big proponent in general. This is sort of just my assessment of the data. And interestingly, after I first authored this paper, I got a lot of calls from venture capital and corporations who wanted to work with me on atropine for myopia, and much to my husband's dismay, I turned them all away. So I'm actually not an expert in atropine, although I do think I understand the data. And to answer that question, I would say that there is no data on very high myopia or particular cases. Another thing that comes up a lot is very premature children or ROP children and how this works in those cases. And I don't think we have any data to support or suggest that they are similar to the patients that were studied in these trials.
So in the papers that you reviewed, what was the refractive error range?
They're all different, but usually around 6 diopters max.
Perfect. And so there are a number of questions from the audience, and I'll pose this to the panelists about when do you have this conversation about atropine if you do utilize it in your practice? Do you bring it up at the first visit if a parent comes and says, I want to start, even though you don't have data regarding progression? You know, there are a number of parents who want, you have a minus 0.75 myope and they're interested in starting atropine because they want to avoid progression. How do you counsel families?
Personally, I tell them that it's not approved by the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, and we don't really know how it works in Caucasian children, and so it's still an area of a lot of investigation. And I let them know it's an option, but certainly I don't know the answer whether it's the right thing to do or not.
I find it depends a little bit on how far I'm running behind in clinic, because these conversations can get really long. But I do feel an obligation to make my patients aware of this as a potential treatment. I think we still don't. Number one, it can be difficult to obtain the medication, and so that's a factor as well. And we don't really know how long we're supposed to use it for and how to stop it. And we really don't even know in the long term if it's going to work. So I introduce it as an option. I say that it's not currently available in the U.S. It has to be obtained by a compounding pharmacy. And then I gauge the level of interest of the parents. And if they're really interested, I'll go into more detail with them.
Same, Dr. Vanderveen?
Yeah, I agree. If I see progression, I may bring it up because I think it's my obligation to address that question. But I don't have a lot of takers. We are one of the centers in the PED trial for low-dose atropine, so I feel a little better about offering that because the medication is covered by the study, but otherwise it's been very difficult.
And is there are a number of questions about where do you obtain it, and do you have a specific place that compounds it for you? Because I know it's difficult to get it.
So where I live, there are compounding pharmacies that do make it up. There's like 3 or 4 of them in the area, and it is quite expensive because it's not covered by insurance.
And then finally, we have, is there a minimum age that you say, okay, if the child is under this age, we won't even have this discussion? No?
I don't think so, but I agree with what Stacy said about, we sometimes see it in the ex-preemies who've had laser for ROP, and they're already very myopic, and those would be the youngest ones that, the parents would be asking. And I just feel like Stacy does, that we just don't have any data to tell us whether that works or not.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the audience questions. Thank you, Dr. Pinellas.
Thank you.